Welcome to Punch Dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. We have a special guest today, and she's wonderful. Her name is Sahana. You know what? Rather than me introducing her to you, I want her to introduce herself to you folks.
Sounds good. I'm a nobody. No, I'm just kidding. So I worked with the Basement Reels for now. I think I met them about 6 years ago.
Yeah, since the very beginning.
Since
Yeah.
the very beginning,
Yeah.
those early videos, I was there for a lot of them, and most recently, I played the character Arnie in a skit.
Yes.
That was released. It's doing really well so far, which is amazing. and
Yeah, for
thanks
people
all
that don't know, that skit, I think it hit 3 million views on TikTok right now.
Yeah.
Which is something that we don't expect because we just post our videos here and there. And then when it catches, we're just as shocked as other people are.
Mhm.
Like one video has 3 million, the next part has a
Close to a
million,
million,
third part has like 500K. So, the audience likes you, I'm guessing, Sahana. They're liking what you're doing.
And a whole squad of us that were, Myri, Tulasi,
Yeah.
all of us, kind of come together. But it's definitely your content too.
I was in the sketch too, by the way. But I don't think anyone cares about
that important.
Yeah, I was just like a supporting sideline character.
I guess the main thing is the story, and the fact that there's millions of people could resonate with that story is very it's pretty cool.
Mhm. Yeah. So
Yeah.
the story, first of all, the story is about a girl that is trying to leave the house, and her parents are giving her a lot of shit for it. So Sahana, since you're a girl, is this a relatable story?
Nah, for sure, there is some degree that's very much relatable. I think growing up as any teenager, young adult, your parents are trying to keep you safe, but sometimes those rules can, keep you from doing some fun things. And so,
Wait, whoa, what fun thing?
Yeah.
What are you trying to do?
What fun things do you do?
just hanging out with friends, going out for food and whatever it is. But it's honestly just going out. And I think sometimes the curfew or the fact that you have to explain to your parents in detail what exactly you're doing, who you're going with, all that stuff. Very much relatable for sure.
Yeah.
In the sketch, right at the end of that sketch, the brother comes, right?
Mhm.
And you see the treatment that the brother was getting from the mother versus, the treatment that, Felicia was getting, right?
Yeah.
You have a brother,
Mm-hmm.
right? You probably witnessed this. Have you, or maybe your parents are very liberal, hey, I'm going to treat my daughter and my son the same way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say liberal is the right way to describe it, but just they did treat us very much equally. If they treated me differently than my brother, it's usually because of my personality. I think I tend to be a little bit more reckless or naive with my decisions. So I do scare them a little bit with that, but I don't think necessarily I've found my brother to be treated differently than I was. But our age difference also meant that he was experiencing life a little bit differently than I was and was sort of ahead in the next step in his life, whereas I was going through my little rebellious teenage years. And so, yeah. But how about you guys? You guys are both brothers.
Yes.
And you guys got younger sisters. And
we used to, yeah.
Have you noticed that you guys were treated differently than your sisters?
I'll let Crew go first.
I think so. I think I was given all the heavy...
fact that he doesn't recognize it means that he wasn't paying any attention to how his sister is being treated.
I think... See... Okay, I think in our house, I was given a lot of the heavy manly tasks. So if I have to mow the lawn, I have to lift the boxes, I have to do all this stuff. Whereas my sister, I feel like she just chills. She just watches her shows. She does. I feel like we're treated differently because of what they expect out of us. They're not going to expect her to build this IKEA furniture, but if they order something, I'm the one that has to build it. But
how about if you were to go out with your friends, do you find that your parents interrogate your sister a lot more than they do you? And when you come home late at night, is it a lot scarier when your sister comes late at home? Or is it?
I think at one point, now that we're all adults, it kind of eases off. But definitely when we're in school, I remember chilling with my high school friends until midnight and stuff. And then maybe the first couple of times I have to tell my parents, yo, we're just chilling, we're not doing anything, and they have to meet them. But then I was given a free pass to just come home whenever I want, go out whenever I want. Especially in the
Right.
university days when I was in Waterloo and coming back, they couldn't keep tabs on me, so I would
Right.
go out and come back as I please.
Yeah.
But I think my sister went to York and she was
Mm,
living at home, so it's like she had a lot more rules, she had a lot more expectations. So yeah, she did have a harder time, I would say.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair. I think I had a similar situation with your sister where first year I was living on campus, but then I kind of moved back after. And I think that was sort of that stage where you had a little bit of money you could spend. You're starting to make new friends. You want to go out. You want to do things. And oftentimes it's like going downtown, a lot further down. And so that was kind of a little scary for my parents.
Yeah.
And I think it was a whole new boundary that they had to sort of create with me in terms of like, come back at this time, like make sure you're messaging us, letting us know and things like that. And I will say I started to push the curfews a little bit here and there. And yeah,
Did your brother use his privilege to help you out on that or no?
I think my brother, yeah, like I don't think in like with the video, I think there was a specific situation where he had to sort of come through and lie for his sister. But with me, I don't think my brother's ever been in that situation. But I will say like a lot of the times when I was setting those boundaries, like my brother did come in with that reason. Because I think sometimes when you're like butting heads with your parents, it's like a third person coming into the conversation and sort of siding with one can help to pull yourself out of that conversation and then kind of have that conversation and make sure yeah, it's
It's funny you're saying that because, like, so my older sister, so my parents set a lot of rules for my older sister, and she kind of like she couldn't fight back, right?
Yeah.
She couldn't fight back, so she kind of like followed all the rules, right? And I'm the middle child, and obviously, I recognize my privileges, so I use my privileges to like stay out late. I come home at 2 a.m. It doesn't matter, right? Then my younger sister, right? Then I start to notice my parents tried to set those same like, expectations on my younger sister where I saw the inequality that was happening, right? So then I provided these cover stories, just like in the sketches,
Oh, you did,
instead
eh?
of my sister. Yeah, man.
Damn.
So, she'll be out and I'll be like, hey, she'll just come up with the stories too. Like, hey, I'm gonna tell my mom and dad, like, I'm gonna go on a cottage trip with friends. I'm like, okay, perfect. Then, the writer that I am, I'll just put some little details. Yeah, she's gonna chill with her friends and write. I mean, like,
So you read it in
she'll
the
come
book.
home. Yeah, don't
his
worry
skills
about
coming
it.
through.
And the thing is, you're right. I have a little bit of more like influence because they kind of trust me,
Mhm.
right? They think like this guy knows, right?
This guy knows, my son knows what's happening.
Yo, because
Because you're
they
a man.
kind of trust me.
Just
Yeah,
say
exactly.
it, because you're a man.
Yeah, exactly. So I use my privilege. I could probably say that I help my younger sister, so that she can enjoy life.
It's funny
That's
because
very sweet.
I would never.
Oh no
I'm
way!
such a good tell me I'm such a good
Wow.
actor for the video because that situation has never happened in my life where I had to cover.
No.
Terrible,
Never.
brother. Terrible.
Yeah.
No, I feel like it's in my family. We all just kept to our own because at a certain point
That's
we all
true.
went to different schools and like
Mm.
we used to grow up together, but then at a certain point you have different friends.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
I don't get involved with my brother's life, my sister's life. We all just keep to our own. As long as we're not dead, we're good. We're good.
Yeah, I
It's
can
so
relate.
funny, like
Yeah.
the dynamics between all three of us. It's so funny, man. You know what it is, though? I'll tell you this because I wasn't born in this country.
Mm.
Go back to your home. What? Get out.
I
People
mean,
hate you.
neither was I, technically.
Oh, really?
When did your parents immigrate to Canada?
Uh,
Were they young when they immigrated? Because that all plays a say
so
in the way they raise their children, right?
Yeah.
Right?
that's actually true, maybe, because I moved here when I was 10.
From Sri Lanka?
No, from the Middle East, so
Huh?
Oman.
You lived in the Middle East?
Wait, were you
We've
born
you
in
had
did-
this
yes.
conversation
You mentioned
before.
this. You mentioned this. Yeah.
Oh, did she? This is my first time hearing about this. So you were born in the Middle East?
I was born in the Middle East, Oman. So I very much
Oman.
lived sort of an expat life. So we were raised around a community of Indians and other Sri Lankans. Mix of like Sinhalese and Tamil folks, and then Indians. And so, yeah, I think because those folks were like all immigrated from Sri Lanka, we were all raised with very much similar rules and things
Mhm.
like that. Coming to Canada was a lot trickier for my parents because, like, yeah, a lot of the other kids had, these sort of going out privileges and like kind of having a good time. And so my parents sort of had to figure out how to navigate that. So yeah,
And they do well. They do well.
I think so.
Well, so were they strict on you growing up?
I wouldn't say crazy strict. I think I've heard worse stories with my parents. They always say two things. They're concerned about my safety and they are concerned that they can't trust other people around me.
Mm.
And that's where if either of those things are, something that's involved and they're like, So like with safety, it's like if I'm hanging out at the friend's house, there's not much of a curfew. They know my friends, they know their parents, everything. So I can kind of like hang out really late. But if I'm going downtown, that's a whole different story. Like I have to be back home by 10. But it takes like a whole hour, 2 hours to commute downtown and then to commute back. And so that was a little bit of a struggle, but I understand now, especially that I'm getting older and even thinking about kids and things like that in the future.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the ways my parents treated me and like the sort of boundaries that they set, I would honestly do similar stuff for my kids too.
Yeah. No, that's true, man. That's true. Some parents are very strict though. Because I heard stories where they just constantly like, make sure where their daughter is, like, strict curfews. If you don't come home on time, that's it. Maybe beatings too involved, right?
Yeah, I've heard stories of like folks like hanging out, like, because in the neighborhood, you would just sort of go to the mall or whatever, and you go with your friends. And if it's like a guy that happens to be there with you and like one auntie finds out and then the other auntie finds out and then your mom finds out, and that was like a huge issue. Thankfully, that wasn't the case for me. I'll like go hang out with anyone and everyone. But with other girls, they were like so concerned about that. I'm like, dang, like I didn't realize that was such a scary thing.
The thing is not your parents, man. It's the people around us, right? When they see someone out there to make them feel good, they'll do this, the rumor mills start like going crazy, and that's it, Oh, I saw your daughter. What is she up to? Like, what who's that man? And they just make it they make it bad for the rest of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's fair. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Sahana, I have a question. Okay, so in terms of like, we're talking about brother and sister privileges, right? What's the most unfair moment or the most unfair memory you have growing up that you're like, it just sucks to be a girl, it sucks to be a sister, it sucks to be in this culture? There must be a moment.
She's privileged.
I
can't say that. I'm sorry.
No, I think for me, perhaps, I don't think we're treated differently too much, but I know dating, that was definitely a conversation to have with my parents.
Oh, wait, when you started dating? And
Yeah.
they found out? So walk us through the story. I want to hear it.
Honestly, I would use basement reels as an excuse. I'm like, go to basement reels.
Oh
Wait
my God.
a minute. Hopefully they don't listen to this. You've told your parents you're going to
I
basement
told
reels
them
shoots?
after that I've used basement reels as an excuse. My mom's like, yeah, I knew. Don't worry. But
Yeah, basement reels helped everybody.
We're like matchmakers here.
I
Bring
know,
it together.
That's what we do, bro. That's what we do.
What?
no, yeah, like it's one of those situations, like you would want to go. I think with my parents, they understood there was a stage in life that I have to start dating because like I wasn't going to allow them to start looking for someone for me. I wanted to go find someone myself. And so if that's the case, I have to date. Like that's just how it works. For them, the fear came with like meeting just anyone and like, it's like your safety.
Hookup culture. Like,
no, it's not hookup. No, not even hookup. It's actually just how do you trust these people that you're going to go meet?
Yeah.
I think Mayuri sort of also maybe touched on that too with her podcast, where it's a bit of like you just don't know this person at all. It's like with them.
Mayuri got into so much.
I know, the poor thing.
No, there was a clip that went viral because she was saying something that was referenced by her dad or something.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
that
she was
like
talking shit about Tamil guys, but it wasn't her. Someone else said it, and then
it was
so
such
many
a
people.
short part of that clip too. Like there was a whole other story
man,
too.
Who edited that clip and posted on TikTok, man?
I am sorry.
Don't play me like that.
We'll see what happens.
Did I sign a contract before getting on here? Actually, you made me sign a contract.
Yeah, we did.
Oh,
Yes.
When she joined as an intern.
Yeah, you're
that's
like
real.
confidentiality, can't be talking about stuff out there. I'm like, fine.
Yeah.
Fine. But yeah, so I think in terms of, I think dating was like a hot topic. But there was a point, like even my brother came through, he was just like, it's going to happen. That's the only way she can see and meet people and find someone good. Trust the process. I think with my mom, it was just like, every time I met someone or like were thinking of talking to someone, she would just go like, who's this person? Do you know everything about them? How do you know they're saying the truth? Da, da, da. And it made the whole dating process more stressful in that sense. But I think, again, my parents are doing this for the first time too, right? They're learning how to be parents for the first time. So I completely understand why they sort of had those fears. And yeah, it was just almost, we're kind of growing together.
That's awesome.
I think that's an important point you make, because like we think growing up when we're like 8 years old that our parents must know everything. Or when we're 18, we think they must have all the answers. And if they do something wrong, it's their fault. But they are raising their son or daughters for the first time too.
Exactly.
Right? They're raising you for the first time, and maybe you're a brat and like they don't know how to deal with that. You know, so give them some slack.
Huge. And especially like raising kids in a Western society versus how they were raised. It's like a whole new parenting style that they had to, you know, adopt. And it's like, like my parents did so great. I'm like, I was not always the easiest to raise, and like they did just fine. And I always think, I'm like, if my daughter turns out a little bit bratty like I did, I'm like, how the heck am I gonna handle that? But
send them to the grandparents.
I know. Mom, you have some experience with this. Please take over.
Like things are changing, right? Like the parenting styles is changing. Like, you know, you talk to people, like even the people who watch these videos, and some people are questioning it. Like this shit still happens. Because it doesn't. Not all the time.
I think it does. I think we grew out of it because our age group, right? But there's still
Yeah.
people coming from different countries, different cultures, not just Sri Lanka, like every culture
it
in the
doesn't
world.
happen throughout. It does happen, but not like I don't know. When I was growing up, I feel like it happened constantly. Maybe you're right. Maybe
I think because all your
I
friends
was
are the same age.
Yeah, same
Like I don't know
age,
what. Yeah, I think we
right?
grew out
I
of
hear
it.
stories from my sisters, their friends, so it makes sense. But I feel like people are changing the parenting style.
Yes, and I think social media and TikTok and stuff helps because like parents are, you could easily WhatsApp like someone that's around the world and see how like relatives are parenting.
Yes.
Whereas in the 90s and 2000s, you just did what you thought was right. And that was it. Unless you watch like a Tamil movie or Nadaham and like, oh, they did this.
Don't watch Nadahams, man. Those soap operas, no, I would not recommend it because it's still the same where the woman is getting abused and, you know, she's getting judged and she's constantly getting berated for all her actions. So I would not recommend those.
Can I sidebar? Because there's this like Indian serial that my mom was watching and I don't know if she's done with it, but like I don't watch it, but I see it and then I kind of pick her brain, and me and like my sister-in-law, we talk to her about it. The plot is there's a group of wives that must stay in the kitchen and sit on the floor in the kitchen because all of their husbands don't want them to leave the house.
Oh.
And that's the serial. That's the plot. It's like,
wow.
I forgot what the title of it is. It's something related to like wives at home. Like they're not allowed to leave the house because that's the mentality of all their husbands.
Yeah. Curious to hear what was your mom's reaction to that? Like, was
she's like in love with it. She's like,
no way.
What's gonna happen? Oh, they finally made it out of the house this time.
No, because people like it because there's a conflict now, right?
Yeah,
like,
conflict.
They want to see that those women getting out of the kitchen and just go and like, you know, seize the world, right?
Yeah, it's like a reflection of one aspect of society that they're blowing out of proportion.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's what we do in basement reels. But
no. See, that's another thing. The way we approach thing is like it's not confrontational, right? We approach it through humor. Right? So we can talk about it. And this is why we're having this conversation, right? It's sparking conversation. So we can talk about it and we can learn from it.
It's showing that how ridiculous these things are is the part of like basement reels. It's just like these things still exist.
Yeah.
And they're very much there and we're still okay with this. And I think that's what's really great about basement reels. Like you guys are able to sort of pull those stories and then showcase some really crazy things that are happening in society. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, since we're talking about basement reels, can I put us on the spot for a bit?
Oh, damn. Okay.
Ooh.
What is the most embarrassing or most uncomfortable time you had on set? Because we did a lot of uncomfortable stories.
Yeah.
Some male issues, some female issues. Is there any time where you're like, I wish I stayed home today?
No, I mean, I kept coming back, so that was a good sign.
Yes.
No, honestly, I will say from my experience, like you guys are both very grounded, humble, and you're not in people's faces about these things. And then it's so funny because like what you guys are on screen versus what you guys are in person are like kind of different.
Huh?
Yeah.
What do you mean on screen? Because
like our characters or like
no
podcast?
Even podcast.
Huh?
I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. How?
So you guys are more timid in
yes.
person.
I see that. Yeah. Because as soon as the mics and the camera go on, I feel like a different person comes in and I could, like all these ideas come and all these questions come and I could flow.
Mhm.
But when I'm off camera, I'm just like, I'm back to my normal self. I
Yeah.
gotta do groceries. I gotta go to Costco.
You're very down to earth
Yeah.
that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is great. So I think the type of space that you create behind the scenes is very much like open. So you guys allow for a lot of conversations. Even when you have a script, it's not like, hey, we have to stick to this. But like when we bring in other YouTubers and collaborators into the space, you're very much like, hey, like, have you experienced this? Like, what would you say this in this situation? And you guys take that feedback, which I like genuinely like appreciate, because that's what made it so much fun for me. It didn't feel like, I mean, we had long days and hard days, but it's definitely like, you just have this feel good moment whenever you're sort of, when we're together coming up with this sort of short, is just because, yeah, like the stories that you guys pull together, the way you guys treat everyone, the way you respect everyone's opinions, it's great. So I've honestly never once felt uncomfortable ever. I felt like, yeah, you guys really do a great job of like executing everything together.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I gave you the chance to cancel us and you didn't. So
I know, I'm
thank
sorry.
you. Thank you.
And I do want to say something. I think there were times where like a 12-hour shoot, and I can see the tiredness on your face.
All of us, man.
Yeah.
Like, think about us. Like, I was behind the camera, in front of the camera, lifting all, like everything, right?
Everything, yeah.
You guys,
yeah.
I don't know how you, and it's not for you guys, it's even crazier because we did this every Sunday. Like there was a summer that was like every single Sunday where we're together, but you guys were after every Sunday, still editing, still creating the script, still like reaching out to people. And it was like back to back, and you guys were at it. But I saw also the drive and the passion you guys had for it. But it was a lot of work for you guys too. Yeah.
But it was only possible because we had people like you and Kirtana and Remy.
Yeah.
Shout out to him. And
Oh my
Divis.
gosh.
Yo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Remember that sketch we did West when it was a spoof of a Key and Peele sketch?
Yes.
where-
Pronouncing names.
Yeah.
names.
The Tamil teacher mispronouncing Tamil names.
That video actually did well.
It did very well across
Yeah.
like the world, literally the world.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
pockets of like Tamil people, even non-Tamil people everywhere were sharing it
Yeah.
because it was such a relatable concept, and you were there, like everyone was there in that
Mhm.
sketch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Remy though, like he killed it.
He did. Oh, he did. My brother
Sanjay
loves
Raj.
his character.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah, he was awesome.
Yeah.
And that's the fun part. Like we get to kind of pull in each other's personalities in these shorts, and it's like you have these characters created, but you're like, go with it.
Yeah, we let people go.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
guys like go with it, and we just get crazy
Yeah.
with some of our characters. So that's a lot of fun. Yeah.
What was your favorite character that you played or you enjoyed watching?
Mm-hmm.
Because so far I think I've played now with Arnie, I think 3 characters.
Mm-hmm.
I think Arnie was probably my
I'm gonna say I like Ari.
yeah, me too. I think I took the liberty of like making it a little bit more like I don't know, adding some character to her. So like with the glasses, with the outfit and the hair and everything. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with that
My
one.
favorite scene is like, you're on your bed, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're just chilling, and Telesia's mom is calling you. It's like, oh, and Arnie, like, what she's up to. Then you change into like a different voice, pretending to be like, your mother. Like,
I know.
That vibe, that character, like, I enjoyed watching it, right? It made it so fun too, right?
Yeah.
The dynamic. Damn it.
Have you guys ever done that? Have you guys ever pretended to be someone on the phone or like come through for any of your friends or
I did, man.
Ah.
I did so many times.
really?
This guy's trying to make it out to be like brother of the year. Yo, calm
right?
down.
Or the friend of the
my
year?
sister, if you're watching this,
Oh.
He deserves an
Remember-
award, okay?
remember all the times, all the times that I did all these things to you.
Like what? You would call your mom and pretend to be someone
Yeah,
else?
can you give us an
No,
example?
no. This is like, talking like you're the teacher, like, growing up. Like, they call
Ah.
you, oh, we're going to have a parents interview shit happening. You should come, right?
Mhm.
Then I'll just pretend to be my dad. Like, I'm like, oh, unfortunately, we can't come like on this day. Like things like that. It's very vague, but yeah, I did, or-
You were putting your acting skills to the practice, you're just
Yeah.
getting it
yeah,
out
exactly.
there.
That's what I was doing. Well, nothing else, nothing illegal.
Right.
Right?
Wait, no one's talking about crime. What are you doing?
Nothing illegal,
Why you-
man.
Why did that sound
Sure.
I'm not like
suspicious?
calling old people. I'm like, hey,
Scamming them for their money.
scamming. Because my girlfriend did that with her brother so many times.
Oh, no way.
Her brother and her, like, they'll call like her uncles and stuff, pretending to be like someone else, and they get like, heart attacks.
Oh, what?
Yeah, man, like these pranks, man. They're like, okay, that famous dude, Punch Sockalingam?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, man, you must have called him. and pranked him.
No, I didn't.
No,
That
we
was
lived a
thing,
different
man.
life.
That was a
Pranked
thing, man.
Punch
We
Sockalingam?
lived a life.
Punch Sockalingam is like the guy who represented Scarborough at the time.
Yeah.
I remember I was in Tamil class and like, my friends are like calling this guy. I'm like, hey, is this punch me? Can I come home and punch you? Kind of thing.
Oh.
Like, it's like every Tamil like kids, they call him.
That's a
Right?
good marketing tactic. He's like a real estate agent, right?
He was
So you probably would have been like, okay, what's your address? Okay, I'll talk to your parents.
yeah. So, I feel like, even no prank calls. Did you?
No, I don't think I had any prank calls.
Oh, yeah, I too like.
Okay, so since we have a lot of podcasts and a lot of our guests have their own like lives and stuff, and now we're all here and none of us have lives, but we're interested in our perspectives here on certain, topics,
Yeah.
especially Asian family topics, right?
Mhm.
Okay, I read this story.
Okay.
And I thought it's very similar to like what we made on the sketch, but not too similar because, this is just a little too brutal.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. The title is, do you have a privileged brother who is privileged only because of his gender? And am I being an asshole for questioning his privileges? And she goes on to saying, sorry, it's going to be a long post. I really need to talk things out because none in my family sides with me, and I can never tell my friends about this. Perhaps because I'm insecure about my family background. My brother gets all the love and care and best things from my parents. For me, as a younger sister, I'm expected by my parents to let him get everything he wants and get what's left because he needs to work, he needs to study, he has a future.
That's
I-
true. That's facts. Okay,
Yeah.
I could attest that happens in my family because I had an older brother and then there was me and then there's my sister. So
Yeah.
my older brother would like, get a lot of things. I would get
Mhm.
the hand-me-downs and then we'll get proper treatment. And then my sister, like, I guess it was an afterthought until we all became adults.
Damn.
Right. So I could see that happening.
Okay. Luckily for me, I'm the only male, like, in the middle child too. So that didn't happen.
I feel like if you're the oldest, youngest, middle, all that sort of
Yeah.
affects your relationship with your family too.
Yeah.
Because I think you get treated a little differently. But keep going with the story.
Oh, okay.
I'm interested.
Yeah.
Okay. I also had to do everything he told me because I'm younger and younger people are not supposed to talk back or disobey older people. Now to the main story. He has physically abused me, like bullying, right? Since I was about 5 years old. Slapped, punched me, beat me up, etc. In no playful way, and which actually hurt a lot. This also abused me mentally as I grew scared of him until even now. Whenever he got closer to me, I automatically put my hands up to cover my face.
Oh my God.
I fucking hate slaps. Once he slapped me to the point my eyes bled. You know what
Okay.
I'm saying?
I was going to say up until that last point, it sounds like my cousin. I'm like, did my cousin write this? Because I see how the way they interact and like,
Really? Eh? They beat each other up?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'm not going to say their names. They'll know. But
Okay.
they know who I'm talking about. But it's like,
Like even as kids, I used to like beat my sister. And
how dare you? You want the brother of the year
but let me
award?
tell you, man, my older sister would not let that go. She'll come after me and she'll beat the shit out of me too.
Mm.
It doesn't happen now.
I
It's
think,
all
like
now.
there's some like acceptable, I feel like, play fighting, and then there's some that's like going way too far.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this sounds like it's
this
going
is-
down abuse. All
This is
okay.
like-
This is abuse.
Okay, let's keep reading.
Okay. I also told him he's being an asshole. And now he's acting like I'm fucking sorry. He's acting like I'm a fucking rebel that doesn't know manners. I'm questioning myself right now. I'm wondering if I am an asshole or is he the fucking asshole? The fucking saddest thing is that I can't get out of here until 8 more months.
Huh.
So she can't leave yet. She has to be there for 8 more months. Enduring this abuse. Verbal abuse and physical abuse. What do you think about all this?
I mean, that is abuse. I mean, it's what's
I mean, she's 18, bro. Come on, man. It doesn't look like, kids are out fighting anymore, right? This is
Yeah.
like, right?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because like especially like Asian families where the family culture is such a priority
Yeah.
that you forget what is acceptable outside and what's inside. Like if you grow up that way,
Mhm.
as soon as you turn 18 or even like 21, when you become an adult, you forget that there are ways that people interact outside of your family and you just kind of hold on to the way your family does things
Mhm.
because you think that's the world.
Yeah.
Whereas like in Western culture and white culture, as soon as you reach a certain age, it's very acceptable to just move out and do your own things.
Yeah.
So you have that quick shift of like
Mhm.
perspectives.
Mhm.
This was my family growing up, but now I'm an adult and this is what I do.
Yeah.
Whereas in a South Asian family or something, what your family does sticks with you your whole life because
Mhm.
you're often that family unit
Yeah.
until the day you die.
Yeah.
So it's like those patterns don't change unless something strong disrupts it. Like you have to move out or you have to like fight back against your parents or something,
Mhm.
right? Otherwise, they're just gonna get abused,
Yeah.
right?
So what do you think this girl should do in this situation?
Move out.
Move out? She got
Like
8 more months. She can't.
8 months will fly. I mean, that's tough. But 8 months compared to the rest of your life, if you plan it out, yeah, you have to save up. If it's that abusive, like, and
Yeah.
your parents aren't going to take your side.
That's what it is. Yeah, like if you've had those conversations with your parents and that you don't see any changes, then there's honestly not much you can do with that. Like, you just have to move on.
I mean, a conversation is a big thing, right? Like, I think a lot of people are scared to confront their parents
Mm.
about behaviors and patterns because you think, oh, they're not going to change. They're in their 50s, 60s. How are they going to change, right?
Mhm.
And then you kind of live with this behavior because you think no one else will change, and you're the one that has to change.
Yeah.
So it sounds like in this post, she thinks that she's the one that has to change, and she's blaming herself. When I think there's problems all around that family, right? One, the brother shouldn't be beating her up.
Yeah, man.
Two, the parents shouldn't be allowing this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other things going on. And like sometimes as a victim, you think you have to continue to be the victim because you want to be a good person and keep the family together. But the best thing you do for your family is sometimes bring it up because
Yeah.
that's only how your family can grow.
And it's one of those things where it's like not like just a passing conversation, but an actual sit down, proper conversations. And I think
Mm.
growing up with especially South Asian families, I find that we don't know how to have those conversations. It's like very much like a passing comment or a passing sort of thought, but no one really sits down and goes like, "Hey, I'm not comfortable with this." I even remember I think I wanted to have a conversation with my parents, and if it's not something that's the norm in your while you grow up, it's like you don't know how to do it. So I had to sit down and write a full note about it to say exactly what I wanted to say and be very clear about it because I knew once I sat and actually started talking, um, I wouldn't know how to express myself in
Mhm.
words.
Can you share what it was? Or
Uh
just so the audience has an example of.
Yeah, I think it was around the conversations that I tend to go do things on my own without discussing with my family.
Okay.
And I think that was really hurting my parents a lot because they really wanted to be part of that decision making. I think it's just my style of decision making. Sometimes I'm very spontaneous. So, like, if I decide to do something, I just go for it and do it.
Mhm.
Whereas I've heard, like, from friends and things like that, it's like, it's always like, there's something they have to decide on. Like, they talk with the family and they kind of decide what's the pros and the cons and kind of decide that way. And so I think I heard it was me and my mom on the couch, and my mom's like, I can't believe you did all these things. Like, how come I wasn't in this conversation? How come you never talked to me about it and all these things? And for me, like, as soon as I hear like my mom's hurt by something, it like hurts me so much, right? Because I'm like, I didn't mean to do it that way. I didn't do it knowing that's hurting you. And so I was just like sitting there, just like bawling my eyes out. I was just like midnight. But again, when I sat there, I didn't have the right words to express my thoughts, and I didn't even know how to express it. And so for a whole week, I just literally kept this one note that I kept rewriting and rewriting what I wanted to tell my mom. Interesting enough, I never actually went ahead and had that full conversation, but I think it kind of happened naturally where the conversations came at different points. But yeah, I think that was one of those times where like I needed to have that conversation. I knew what I wanted to say, but I just couldn't properly sit down and say it.
Oh, but I think you even writing it out, even though you're saying you didn't have that conversation, you writing out your thoughts allowed you to play that conversation in your head to the point where you knew how to bring it up when you had the chance, right? And it didn't,
Exactly.
yeah, you didn't sit down and hold court, but
No.
it happened when it happened, but you wrote down your thoughts
Yeah.
and you're able to think it through, which is, I think, healthy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very much. And I think now the older I get, the more I'm learning how important these conversations are. And it's like, as awkward as it might be to sit down with your family to talk, it's so important. Like, it might be out of your norm, but it changes how your parents think about you, feel about you. And I know half the time it's hard when parents are sort of have a different mindset and have things, but it's so important for you to share your thoughts, at least so that they process it in their own time, and think it through as well.
Yeah, you know what? I do that now too, man, with my dad. Before, like, in my teenage years, like obviously, I mean, it's not normal for us to talk.
Yeah. Brown people don't talk.
Yeah,
We
Yeah,
don't
I
talk.
know.
We don't talk.
We
Right?
bottle everything up.
Yeah, but
Go to work.
Swipe
yeah,
under the rug. Yeah.
like you don't like something, you just leave.
Yeah.
You leave the house.
Yeah.
But growing up, like I started noticing these things, and I'll be like at first, like I'm like, Dad, this is what you're doing. This is what you're doing wrong. It's not right. Shouldn't happen again, kind of thing. But at first, I realized like they just wouldn't take that from me. They'll just leave. They'll just leave their living room or go do whatever they gotta do, right? But over time, I realized that like they're actually now taking their time to like stand and listen to me at least. And if they got nothing to say, they won't say anything, but at least they're listening to me, which is such an improvement.
Such a huge, and it's like, it's been where like at that moment when you're discussing it, it sounds like they're not validating your feelings or like they're kind of just moving past it. But I've actually noticed, like, I've had these conversations, maybe during that conversation it doesn't seem like they're listening to you, but after you start to sense some changes, and it's because they've heard you.
Yeah.
And at that moment their reaction is always sometimes defensive, and just as humans we are always like that, right? Like our egos are coming the way, so we get kind of defensive. But again, like going back to that point, like our parents are humans too, and they're like learning for the first time. And so it's like you have these conversations, it doesn't always go well, but then you start to see there's changes that will start to happen as time goes by.
Okay.
But in that situation though, with that story, it doesn't seem like the parents are listening. And at that point, you just have to remove yourself from.
The fact that she's bleeding through her eyes, that's like,
I can't.
No,
That's
And
graphic.
for a brother to be doing that, oh my God, like
Yeah.
your own blood. Oh.
she should beat him up.
Violence
No,
is
don't.
violence.
No.
Violence,
Don't listen to Tharshan. No.
My older sister did that to me.
Oh,
She
gosh.
would not stop, man. She's
That
like,
isn't
"Ah."
gonna solve anything. Just remove yourself. Yeah.
Remove yourself.
Yeah.
That's true.
And it sucks because, yeah, like I think we're coming from a place of privilege if we're able to say that. But I know it's a lot harder if you're in that situation. Things like money, where do you go, and all that such. So we're not saying it's easy at all. It's hard, but in that situation, there's honestly not much else you can do.
It's a tough situation to be in. Yeah, like in the comment section, like people are saying, you should call the cops on your brother because you're 18 now.
Yeah.
If he's beating you like that, like, you shouldn't take that from your brother because he's an adult too and you're 18. You can call the cops, right? You're not kids anymore, right?
Yeah, even if you weren't 18 at that point too, like anytime younger, like
Yeah.
you can, but I guess that will remove, like, you will sort of be removed from the family, and then that's a whole nother situation. But yeah, now that she is 18, yeah. I know, like, now that I've known you guys for like about 6-7 years now, I know a lot of my life, I find that I ask you guys for life advice.
Oh, yeah.
Especially I find that like relationship advice and things like that, I've gotten some pretty good stuff from you guys, I have to admit.
Okay.
Tell us, share with the audience.
Before I start sharing the advice itself,
Okay.
start with what kind of people were you in, like, relationships? Like, were you guys early stage versus now? Has the type of person you are or type of boyfriend you are changed over the course?
Yeah.
100. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, 100%.
I feel like the person you are in a relationship changes as you change, right?
Mhm.
So, if you're in high school trying to date, you're like a kid. I don't think you know what you want later in life.
Mhm.
So I feel like, in my experience, as I got more mature and kind of took stock of what's around me and what's important, like I also tried to bring that into the relationship and try to put more time in, be more respectful, even just understand different perspectives. When you're growing up and you're trying to even figure out your identity, like in high school, even like uni, you're trying to build your personality. So a lot of it is about you. I want this from you. I want to do this.
Yeah.
Why aren't you doing things my way?
Mhm.
But when you get older and you realize, okay, maybe you have a work circle, a family circle, a friend circle, multiple friend circles, you have to take in all these different perspectives. And as you get older, you realize you have to bring that to your relationship too. It's not about you. Listen to her perspective as well. And then I think, communication is a big thing too. So you learn how to talk better.
Yeah,
Right.
for sure. And I know, like, in one of the videos that we did in the past, you played a character, I think it was a brother, who was planning, it was a new normal. Yeah, you're planning a Valentine's Day activity, and it was, I think the year before you had done like a hiking thing, and then the year of you decided to do like hanging out with the boys and
Yeah, and watch SmackDown.
exactly watch SmackDown.
Oh, it
Has
was in that
there-
series, right?
Yeah. Has there ever been a situation like that where like, especially early on when you started like sort of dating and things like that, like you sort of were not as considerate in terms of like
Even now, man. Okay.
bring those stories
You know,
out.
it's like, no, it's just, it goes back to, you think a lot of it is about yourself and what you want, but a relationship is like 50% you and 50% the other person.
Yeah.
So, in everything you do, there's a bit of compromise and it's a bit of what they want and what you want. And it takes so long to find that with a person and find that right balance. So, yeah, if I'm planning a date and I want to watch SmackDown, which never really happens, I don't watch SmackDown, but it's like, yeah, so many people think like it has to be my way and they have to see it my way. And that's how things will work out. But like, how much are you giving up and how much are you going to get? You know, it's a conversation, right?
Mm.
That's fair.
Mhm.
What about you? Were you the perfect boyfriend starting off?
100% not. I feel like I was like a little selfish. Like, just like I can relate to that, the first part, like when you're trying to learn about yourself, it's all about me, what I want kind of thing. But, I was also like conflict avoidance, right?
Mm.
Like, I don't want any conflicts. I'll just, if there's a conflict coming up, I'll be like, okay,
Can I
like-
say, I think I'm that too, but I think it's a typical guy thing.
is it?
It's just like, because from what I know about guys, you're nodding? Yeah?
Yeah. Well, no, I think for guys, not like, I think for you guys, it's not as serious sometimes, or you don't realize how serious it is.
Mm.
And from the girl's perspective, I know I personally have trouble explaining it. I just expect the guy to know. And I think that's something I had to learn. I'm like, why isn't this person understanding? It's like, oh,
Because
like,
let me tell you, guys don't know.
no.
There's this Family Guy meme. I was just talking to, there was this Family Guy meme about like a guy that walks by and a girl's just pissed at him. And then it's like, we don't know.
Right.
It's like, you think we're being like passive aggressive or we know or we're chilling with the boys. We don't know what you're mad about.
Yeah.
And then the girls are like, oh, how come you're not being better? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? We would if we knew. It's complete ignorance. And I think that is not a good enough excuse because the girl's like, well, oh, you should know about me, but we don't know.
But there's a compromise in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do now, man.
Mhm.
Like, sure, I don't know, but what's wrong? I'm
Uh-huh.
gonna sit down. I'm gonna listen to you. Okay? And she'll tell her perspective. I'm gonna validate her. Right? I'm gonna validate that shit. Whatever you're saying.
You're
is, I
actually
understand.
listening and okay.
I understand. If I disagree, okay, I don't disagree with this because this is what I think. But I get where you're coming from. Bam, bam, bam.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listening and validation, bro, those are two things that you need and you'll win the relationship, bro. But I still a little bit conflict avoidance till this day. I'm like, damn it, I don't want to ruin the whole day if I get into a fight.
Exactly. It's because guys wake up and we just want peace. We don't, there's so many things happening. And like me personally, I just don't want to fight about anything in my day.
That's fair.
I mean, which is not a great quality because fights happen. You have to solve problems. I get that. But it's like, I'm trying to love life as much as I can. And then when like anger and frustration gets in the way, there's a better way to look at it than butt heads.
But I think the issue though is that every time these sort of discussions happen I can't make it a common thing, but like, I think sometimes men think it's like a fight and it's like something you have to like argue about and there's only one right side and one wrong side. Whereas I know from my perspective, when I share something, it's just like, I want you to understand how I'm feeling. And it doesn't mean you did anything wrong. It just means that, hey, I'm reacting to something you did this way, and that's why I'm being a little bit sensitive, or I'm being like I'm reacting this way. It's because this is how it makes me feel. And it's like, you didn't like, because I think guys get like, oh, you're saying that I did something wrong. I'm like, no, you didn't do anything wrong. It's more like, hey, like, I'm just sharing how it's making me feel. And this is something from like maybe my past experiences or whatever, or the person I am. It's just my personality. And so it's like, yeah.
I think it kind of goes back to the way, you're addressing issues. Like, okay, let's go take it a little bit back, right? Like, the privileges that men had versus the girls had, right? Like, the girls, I feel like they always have to try to get some sort of freedom, right? Like those experiences kind of like, I guess, kind of carried into the relationship too. Like I'm trying to get get something through to his head, but he's not getting it, just like our parents didn't at that time, right? So that that kind of experience just went on to the relationship too. And guys, we had it easy, right? Like,
Right.
okay, like we're not we don't really face trouble.
Right. So
we don't-
girls have
like,
had to learn from like a young age how to
like
communicate themselves or fight for what they want.
kind of thing. No,
No, like
Oh.
no, sorry. The reason I had not, because I'm like terrible with communication sometimes.
yeah,
But I think women, we tend to, again, I don't want to say men and women. No, I hate saying that. I think certain people just are emotionally more, that's how they operate. They're just more emotional in terms of like how they connect with people and things like that. And so there's that sense, whereas some people are more logical. And then it's like, if it's A, it's A, if it's B, it's B. It's like that. Those are the two answers. Whereas for other people, it's like, it can be both things. Like I can feel angry, but I can also be sad about it or something like that, where it's like there's multiple emotions going on. And so it's hard to communicate it sometimes. And I think growing up, not for me particularly, but I know for myself, I find it hard to communicate those feelings. I just bottle it up. And then at some point, I hope someone figures it out or it comes out, which is something I'm working on. I have a series of like steps that goes through. It's like, I like silent treatment. I go a little silent. Not silent treatment necessarily, but I just go silent.
did you learn that from your parents? Because parents do that all the time.
No, so for me, it's never anger. It's always like I'm upset or I'm sad. So I then can't seem to express it. I don't know why I can't seem to express it, but I just ball in. So I just go silent. So usually that means like something's wrong. And then I start tearing up. And then after that, like because of my tears, people think it's like such a like crazy thing or a serious, super serious thing. But it's just like, it's the fact that I'm not expressing it that I'm like turning it into tears.
Oh.
And then after that, it'll like be like a couple hours. I'm like out of that headspace. And now from a third person perspective, I'm able to express my emotions.
So you have to go through that, bottle it up, cry, and then look at yourself from the third person?
Because what happens is that like if I don't actually speak about it, then it'll never get solved. So a lot of that early stage stuff that I'm doing is like what I am, like how I grew up sort of bottling a lot of my feelings. But no, those stuff that I'm expressing and things like that, that's the stuff I'm learning now to do. So it's like, I'm realizing like I can't do that. I have to actually come out of it. So it's not necessarily, I haven't fixed these earlier habits, but I'm finding a way to still make it work.
Okay. That's such a relatable moment when like, okay, so from your perspective, as, a guy, what do you need in those moments when like you feel yourself unable to express and like you said, you go silent?
Right.
What's the best thing a guy can do when like that is coming? It's coming.
It's different very much depending on the girl. So I will always say like, ask the girl first, like ask her how she likes to be dealt with. With my personal experience, it's come from a perspective of, hey, like what's wrong? Is there like kind of ask those questions, but don't say it's like, do not come in like fed up or it's like, oh my God, this all over again. It's like, do not bring those emotions, but it's like, hey, what's wrong? And if the girl is having a hard time expressing her thoughts or anything like that, just give her that time and don't pressure her all the time, but just be there and listen and just sort of wait and be okay with the silence. Don't try to fill it in with words or try to bring in your own emotions or did I say something? Oh, and don't start blaming yourself. That's another thing I find. At least I know for myself, if I know my partner or significant other or anyone like that starts to blame themselves, then I will hold myself from expressing my thoughts because then it seems like I'm blaming it on them. But I like care too much about them to be able to blame it on them. It's like, it's not their fault. It's just I have ways that I react to things. And so it's actually how I'm processing it. So it has nothing to do with you. Like, don't worry. But once they say, oh, did I do something wrong? Did I say something wrong? I'm like, crap. Now, like, they're blaming themselves. So I don't want to actually express this emotion or thought.
So then you stay even more silent.
I stay even more silent. So that's why I'm like, to remove that language of it's like, is it my fault? Did I do something wrong? And instead actually ask like what's wrong and like try to see if you can like actually get them to share slowly and surely and do not get frustrated and do not try to fill it in with your own words or your own experiences in there.
Yo, these are some great advice, man.
Great advice.
Yeah, sometimes I just kind of realize that I do this sometimes, man. Sometimes I just put the blame on
100%.
myself.
Yeah.
Because I just want this conversation to be done right now.
It's me. I blame myself because I don't want to blame them because it feels like they are not to blame.
Yeah.
And it feels like anything that happened, it must have been me.
It-
So I'm like, what else is there to do?
And that's the worst because, like, as your partner, I think they don't want to blame you. They don't want to keep faulting at you. It's more just a compatibility at the end of the day. So you're just trying to figure out a formula that works for the two of you. And so instead of constantly like, blaming yourself, it's just like, hey, like, how do we do this so that we're both figuring out a way that works for the two of us? It's not like you need to fix all these things about yourself. It's just like the two of us need to come together and work through our sort of.
Do you take therapy?
I don't.
Oh man, because you're so like.
This is very good advice.
Yeah, this is some good perspective.
I've heard I give advice. Yeah.
You didn't take classes on this, or you must have, went to therapy.
No, interesting enough, I think for me, I'm very much. I like to analyze my own thoughts, everyone else's thoughts. I'm that person, and my poor friend group, I have a lovely group of friends from high school, and I have the tendency to go like, hey, if you were in this situation, would you do this or this? And like start like sort of conversations around it, which puts people in a lot of vulnerable positions.
I love those questions.
I know, but it's actually sometimes creates a lot of anxiety for some people because they're like opening up things that they don't want to necessarily hold.
Right.
And I learned to like maybe perhaps not do that all the time, or like to only do it when I know it's okay or like people are okay with it. So
my friend, he asked me some twisted ass questions, man.
Yeah, we do that all the time. Yeah, what did your friend ask you?
Like, my goodness, man. Like, I can't remember, but it'll be like, who would you kill first, your mom or dad? Like, if you were like,
yeah, those kind of questions.
No, but I don't think he asked me those questions. That particular question, I just can't think. I'm just thinking like these are like
that's
dark
like the way it
things.
feels. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like you have this is a scenario you have to pick. Like I'll play with them. Like
yeah,
like you have to pick. So it's so dark and twisted. Sometimes I'm like, okay, maybe this is what I gotta do.
I know, and like sometimes it's like scary because like. It's like, is there there's sometimes not a right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
And then people feel bad for choosing one answer over the other. And then that's when it kind of starts to get. But in these conversations, you have to kind of be just open about it and just like, this is like just a conversation. But
because I'm learning about myself too through these questions, right? These questions, like, obviously you won't be in those positions, right? Like, obviously you want both of them to live, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So, but you have to choose. You can't just, man, I don't want to answer this. You can't do that. So it's interesting. It definitely make my life interesting by asking these questions.
So what's the answer?
What's the answer? Who would I kill? My God, I can't answer this right now, man.
No.
We'll talk about this on another podcast.
Yes, exactly. A whole other topic.
Yeah.
Ultimatums, yeah.
But no, I'm glad you brought that stuff up because this is the place to talk about it. This is Punch Dialogue, where our dialogue punches you in the heart.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Is there anything else that, we kind of went through a lot of quick topics here, but is there anything else that you had in your heart that you want to share with the Basement Reels audience, Punch Dialogue audience?
Yeah.
Oof,
After being, you've been behind the scenes for so many sketches. You've been through all the ups and downs. You're back with our latest sketch that's going viral right now with millions of views on TikTok. Anything that you want to say?
All the content creators out there, especially from the Tamil community, you guys are doing amazing. And you're bringing out these stories. And I think from someone that gets to be the person that gets to view this and watch this, keep it coming. I love it. I want more of it. And I think it's so important that we, share our stories in whatever way it looks like and in whatever form you do it in. But I'm been appreciating it.
Thank you for the words. We're doing this in a lot of different forms. We have sketches, we have a podcast, we have a movie, we have another thing that we're writing for next year. So and more sketches, by the way. There's going to be more sketches that we've shot. We just got to release them out. So stay tuned for all that.
I think the fans are waiting. Yeah, they're in the comment sections like, we want more. So
the one comment was like, "Are you guys back?"
I know.
Like I was about to say yes, we're back, but we didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, we've been working a lot behind the scenes, working on ourselves, our crafts.
Yeah, I mean that's something I actually want to ask you like real quick is like in terms of like you often hear those comments. It's like, oh, like where are you guys, or how come you guys are doing this over this? It's like, how does it make you feel first hearing those comments, and then two, I guess go ahead and like explain exactly what you're up to, and so the reasons why you've sort of create sort of different content.
I think whenever I hear that, it makes me feel good, first of all, because that
Mhm.
means we touched them in a way maybe years back that they are still craving for some more content. So then
Mhm.
it's a kind of a reminder, oh, we did this type of stuff. People are still wanting that stuff. There's an audience for it still,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So it makes me feel good that people are waiting for content,
Right.
right? It's just a matter of, can we deliver what they're asking
Mhm.
for, right?
Yeah. To me, like, sometimes I feel like, because we've been making podcasts too, right? But, our audience who are there for the sketches, there's so much, right?
Mhm.
And I feel like the audience for the podcast is slowly realizing that we have podcasts. And
Mhm.
obviously we have to do a well
Yeah.
good job of marketing too. But, behind the scenes, we are working on so many things, right? We're like pitching to networks, right?
Yeah.
We're constantly writing, we're pitching to networks because we want to take these stories mainstream.
We have a podcast and sketches and stuff, and it's like
Mhm.
we just make content when we feel like we have to say something or when we feel like there's an idea. Because if
Yeah.
we don't, I don't know about you, but I feel like I just have like a headache all the time if there's an idea and it's not out there in
Yeah.
the world. Like I'm just
Mhm.
sitting on it for what,
Yeah.
right? I just have to get it out there.
Yeah.
And it's not like the podcast audience might be the same as a TikTok audience.
Yep.
It could be different than the Instagram audience and YouTube audience. They're all could be different people, but they're all resonating with our content in a different way.
Mhm.
That's why we'll still do podcasts when we want to talk about something. We'll still do a sketch when you have a funny idea. And that's why we still want to do like shows and films when we have a bigger idea that we feel like there's a market for.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. And that's exactly what we've been doing this for the last couple of years, right? We've been pitching to like I said before, we've been pitching to like production houses based in Toronto, but that's like so much work, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it takes
Yeah.
away that time that we'll normally spend out making sketches, coordinating productions, like, to make podcasts and things like that,
Yeah.
right?
Like
So we didn't go nowhere. We just
Mhm.
been really busy in the background to get like, our shows in front of in front of executive producers, so everybody can see it and enjoy it, like how people enjoying it now on TikTok and YouTube, right?
Mm.
And I mean, with Basement Reels, like, what's the big vision, or even for yourselves personally, like, where do you want to see Basement Reels go?
You know what? For me, I feel like for me, I want a major platform to showcase our stories. I don't want other people telling our stories. Usually, I see that, sure, we're South Asian, right? But we have unique stories that we bring to the table. And sometimes some people try to tell our stories in their perspective, but I feel like we can do it better,
Mm.
right? And it shows, right? The sketches that we release, the engagement that we get, it shows. So my goal is to share these stories with the global audience on a major platform like Netflix and Amazon and Apple, things like that. That's my goal.
Hmm. Yeah. I think I
And
share that sentiment because we work hard to make our sketches on YouTube, but
mm,
and YouTube's a global audience, but you know, there are still bigger markets out there, right? If we put look, with no budget, if we're making a TikTok and it reaches like 5 million people,
yeah,
like imagine what we can do if we had the budget for like a show to pay like hundreds of people to produce something,
yeah.
get the entire industry involved, show
Mhm.
that we're not just here doing it in our basement, even though it's basement reels. We want to do it on sets, right? Like
Yeah,
I think we've spent 10 years or something working on our craft.
yeah,
And it
Mhm.
goes back to what we were doing behind the scenes. Like I know Darshan, he does acting training
yeah,
and he
Does, yeah.
writes, and we both write a lot.
yeah.
And I've been doing writing training. I do stand up. I also do
The
editing,
writers.
post production, right? Like I learned that craft so I could
Mhm.
edit
Yeah,
actual shit in the DGs. Like,
yeah,
like that's my day job.
Yeah.
So we want to take the skills that we're both learning separately and bring it to content, right?
Mhm.
And make it the best we can make it.
and also, like there's so many like South Asians here in Toronto, right?
For sure.
Like our stories, like notice, like on our sketches, we always like reach out to people, like, hey, come join. Like the
Right.
cast is like,
The
if you
cast
were
is
to,
what
It's
makes it.
growing.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
Mhm.
if you were to look at the cast, the amount of people we got involved in Basement World sketches is so much,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we want to do, right? Like give them careers, like give them like give like a pathway to like where they can achieve, right? Become actors and actresses, like that's what I want to see, right?
Yeah, I
In the
want to
industry.
cultivate an industry. There's an industry obviously in like South India for Tamils,
Mhm.
but I want the industry to also be global
Right.
for people that look like us and tell our stories,
Mm.
because I don't like a world where there's only space for one South Asian show for all of North America. right? Look
Yeah.
how many like different cultures there are around the world.
Mhm.
Like they all deserve some kind of voice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And one thing, like, I guess the last thing I'll say is like, I didn't realize how much I wanted to see people that look like me on screen.
Yeah.
Until I got to an like an adult age, and I realized, like, I got so excited when I saw Apu from The Simpsons. I got so excited when I saw like Mindy Kaling on The Office,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought it was just like, oh, I thought they were funny, but it's really because I couldn't relate to other people as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I wanted to see someone that looked like me, even though Mindy Kaling was a female, Apu was a white guy doing a brown accent.
Yeah.
It's like I still got excited, subconsciously about someone that looked like me doing funny things,
Mhm.
right? So now that we have the resources and the ability to shoot something and write something, I want to do that for our community,
Yeah.
Bring in cast members, bring in production crew that can represent our stories properly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you see in the last sketches that we released, the production quality, like
Getting better.
Well,
We're
no.
sure the budget can always go up. but
yeah. No, but we are putting everything into like
Yeah.
making better and better and by ourselves, right? And this is a time, if everybody's listening, please get us on those,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Get
hop
us
on a
that
call.
money.
Reach us.
Sponsor us.
Yes.
Put us on the,
Yeah,
That's
the only
the
way
team.
something like this can happen is with sponsors, is with networks, is with producers and executive producers. Like we love collaborating, right?
Mhm.
That's why we don't. In the last sketch, I feel like I barely had screen time. You barely had screen time. It was about the story, which was
Mhm.
Delicia, Maya Space, you, Sahana,
Yeah.
right? And like that's what we want to do. Like if we have an
Mhm.
idea, we want to bring people that can champion that idea,
Yeah.
right? That involves a team too. The team with like sponsors and producers
Yeah.
that can bring that idea to life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we'll
Well,
make it happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with your help and with your help, with all of us, with the Basement Reels team,
We'll
we'll
get
make it
Yes,
happen.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
Get there, man. Well, that's it for Punch Dialogue. Thank you
Mhm.
so much, Sahana, for stopping by, sharing your experiences, your stories with us. I enjoyed it. Audience enjoyed it. Crew enjoyed it.
I learned a
thank
lot. Thank you.
Yeah, I learned a lot.
Great.
Yo, the one thing you said about like, what does that thing about relationship?
You forgot it already.
Oh my
Yo, listen to the
God.
podcast. You guys can listen to this podcast on Spotify, on iTunes. Maybe you'll watch it on YouTube at some point. But please take time to review this. Give it a 5 stars. It really helps.
Yep.
Hit that share button. Share it to all your group chats, to all your friends and family. And we'll see you next time on Punch Dialogue.